My name's Wade Watts. My dad picked that name because it sounded like a superhero's alter ego, like Peter Parker or Bruce Banner. But he died when I was a kid, my mom too. And I ended up here, sitting here in my tiny corner of nowhere. There's nowhere left to go. Nowhere. Except the Oasis.
Ready Player One is directed by Steven Spielberg and is based on the 2011 novel of the same name written by Zach Penn and Ernest Cline. Set in the year 2045, Ready Player One takes place in a dystopian future where people have en masse chosen to escape their lackluster realities via a virtual reality game world called the Oasis. For the sake of brevity, and to keep this review on point, I won't dwell on how this very thing would have exacerbated whatever issues led them to that decision, ultimately leading to the current world we are presented with. Ready Player One doesn't waste a lot of time on setup, and it's debatable as to whether or not this helps or hinders. I would make the argument that it helps, because we don't have to watch a load of relatively uninteresting backstory play out. But since we got to get the story set up somehow, it results in a movie that's pretty narrative heavy for the first 10 to 15 minutes. That said, once the setup is done, we're off to the races. Pun intended. Our protagonist is Wade Watts, played by Ty Sheridan, who lives with his aunts after his parents passed away. Like everyone else, Wade spends most of his time in the Oasis as his avatar Parzival. Wade, along with a number of other people, has developed an almost godlike worship of the creator of the Oasis, James Halliday, played brilliantly by Mark Rylance. The reason for all this interest? A few years before Ready Player One takes place, Halliday passes away. When he died, he announced to the world that he had left an Easter egg in the Oasis, and whoever finds the Easter egg gets his considerable fortune and full control over the Oasis. As a result of this, the entire world is trying to find the aforementioned Easter egg, and even businesses are set up around this very idea. Enter IOI and our main antagonist, Nolan Sorrento, played by Ben Mendelsohn. Sorrento is your typical Hollywood-style super rich business mogul willing to do anything to get what he wants. And while Mendelsohn does a good job with the role, it's a pretty cut-and-paste bad guy. Fortunately, Sorrento's typical bad guy is offset with an atypical bad guy in the form of IROC, played by T.J. Miller. IROC only shows up in a few scenes, but when he does, he's pretty hilarious. Along the way, we also meet Wade's BFF, H, who's my favorite character in the movie by far. On a side note, if you really want to know the actor who plays the role of H, feel free to look it up. However, I think that the joke/reveal that this sets up is worth not spoiling for the movie's sake. It's not that it wasn't predictable, but it was fun to watch it play out. We also meet his love interest, Artemis, aka Samantha, played by Olivia Cooke. Artemis's intro is a little weird, but only in hindsight, as both Wade and H talk about her like she's a big deal, but we never get a why. At least I don't remember a why. And no one else seems to know who she is. For the record, I didn't notice this until well after the movie was over, so I guess it's not a big deal. I really like this movie. All in all, I think they did a great job telling a story that feels like it could have been a lot longer than it actually was. And it was 2 hours and 20 minutes. So I like how they filled in the informational gaps throughout the movie, though I did catch myself asking the question from time to time, how did he know to look there? I realize that in reality it probably would have taken him a little while to get to the information that he got to, but nobody wants to watch that play out on screen. The one constant that everybody's talking about regarding this movie is the sheer number of pop culture references. And they're everywhere. Characters, items, symbols, music, dialogue, the references are legion and all over the map. I personally had a lot of fun scanning the scenes looking for stuff. Actually, it was a bit distracting a couple times, but not enough to ruin anything. Now, normally I get a little complainy when I feel a movie is relying too much on CGI when it really doesn't have to. That said, the bulk of this movie takes place in a video game, so complaining about the overuse of CGI would be stupid. In the end, I really only have two complaints. One is the lack of law enforcement. And that might seem weird, but throughout the movie, we're given the impression that local law enforcement is more or less non-existent. And IOI even has its own enforcement team, for lack of a better term, that just does whatever they want with no sense of repercussions. When police finally do show up at the end, it almost feels surreal. I don't know how else to explain it. My other gripe is that during the third act of the movie, it starts trying to sync the location of people outside of the oasis with their relative position inside the oasis. And it really doesn't work. And I just couldn't let it go. It just doesn't make any sense. You actually get a scene with a pack of kids, all with VR glasses on their heads, running down a city street in the real world, contrasted with their avatars in-game, running through a wide open space full of rocky terrain. I mean, what if in-game they have to make a right turn and in the real world there's a building there? I mean, how does that work? It doesn't. Am I just nitpicking now? All in all, I really liked Ready Player One, and I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. It's definitely worth seeing in the theater, and I will most certainly be buying it on Blu-ray. Bit of a side note, I just wanted to say how much I really enjoyed Mark Rylance's performance. He's quickly becoming one of my favorite actors. His performance in the BFG is stellar, and he's just as good in this movie. Alright guys, have you seen the movie? Have you read the book? What's your favorite Spielberg movie? Let me know in the comments. Also, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.